Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about how to play Abathur. So this video will be all about the hero Abathur. We're going to be covering all of his skill builds. We're going to be covering his talents, what I think about them, general tips for the hero, and we're also going to be starting this series where we go over every hero in the game. Right now I'm planning on doing it in alphabetical order. I might do some out of order if there's certain heroes that have extremely popular demand. So we'll see about that in the future. You can always let me know on the Patreon
Heroes,
comments if you really
gather
want to see
tribute
one hero above
and
the
in my
rest.
favor.
But let's begin with Abathur. So the first build that Abathur has, and the most common one, the one I would recommend most people play, is called the Hat build. Now, this is a build which, just like what it sounds, you basically take all the talents
Choose a
where
talent.
you
Choose
upgrade
a
your hat.
talent.
Now,
Choose
I'm
a
going to take
talent.
the sample
Choose
recommended
a
build that I
talent.
give to people here.
Choose a talent.
And
Talent?
as you can see, this
That
just
seems
involves having
generous.
a bunch of talents which upgrade your symbiote, your hat, right? So let's start off talking about the level 1. The level 1, very useful. It increases the range of the spike burst, which is going to synergize very well with the later talents where you heal per hero hit with the spike burst. With the upgraded talent, it actually goes a lot further. You can see the range is like that much. Without the upgrade, it's probably less than half of that. It's a very tiny without the upgrade. So very nice talent. This talent makes it so that when you're like hatting melee minions, you can actually hit the range minions, which kind of helps the wave clear a little bit. Let me see if I can show you that real quick. Right, right. So you see the range minions are getting hit by the W, whereas if you don't have it, the range would be way too short and you wouldn't even be able to reach them. And also, you know, just having more range is helpful in general, not to mention lowering the cooldown is also very synergistic with the other later talents. Now, you can take Reinforced Carapace as well, but I think it is a weaker version because if you do the math on this, it's 40% of the shield, and the shield right now is only, what, about 300, so you're only getting maybe 120 extra shield, which is really just not that much in the grand scheme of things. Um, so Pressurized gland, very strong. Now, at level 4 for the hat build, most people go Adrenal Overload because most of the time when you're playing Abathur, you are going to be hatting someone that is very synergistic with the hat, right? It's very likely going to be like a Tracer, a Illidan, a Genji, a Zeratul, and almost all of these heroes use the extra attack speed very well. Um, Even if you just have like a Vala or a Zul'jin, right? Most of the time there's someone that uses the attack speed very well. However, that is not all the time. So if you do find yourself on a team with people who you think just do not utilize attack speed very well at all, you got a bunch of mages uh, and stuff of that sort, then you can go for either of the other two talents. Needle Spine does help a little bit in terms of just doing a little bit more damage on your hat, whereas the Mines does help with kind of just map control. Getting more mines, putting more mines on spots on the map helps you kind of keep an eye on the map a little bit better. Better vision control. Now, level 7, I would say no matter what build you're playing, you're usually going to want Mule. Mule is extremely powerful. The ability to heal your buildings uh, is just very, very good. It forces the enemies to kill them, and if they don't, you get incredible value just restoring all your buildings back to full HP. I think everybody knows about the power of the Mule at this point. Going on to level 10, you're going to want Ultimate Evolution. Once again, for almost any build, Ultimate Evolution is good and much stronger than Monstrosity most of the time. Monstrosity is very weak unless it is completely left, to its own devices. So the only time Monstrosity is pretty strong is when the enemies leave it alone forever, which is not going to happen that much, but you can take it if you find that happening a lot. Moving on to the level 13, now this is a very good talent as well. It heals you for right now at level 21, 146 HP per hero hit. So when you're hatting someone like an Illidan or a Genji, they're diving into the middle of the other team. This could potentially hit anywhere from 3 to 5 people. So you're getting 3 to 5 times this value, and you're gonna notice this heal. This heal is very substantial if used correctly, and it makes the target that you're hatting, it gives them really good sustain. Um, so very good talent for hat build. All right, moving on to 16. Now, level 16 for the hat build is pretty optional. You can go the slow. There are some heroes where this is really beneficial, such as Samuro, because Samuro has a talent at level 16 called Merciless Strikes, where he always crits on heroes that are slowed or otherwise CC'd. So there's certain combos that make this really good. Additionally, if you're playing with a hero like a Genji or an Illidan, these heroes don't really need any more move speed. They're already hyper mobile, right? Like a Zeratul as well, Tracer. Hyper mobile heroes usually benefit more when you're slowing the enemy target. So slows really benefit there. However, if you are not playing with a hypermobile hat target, let's say you're hatting maybe like a tank or a healer instead, right? Let's say you're hatting like an Arthas, for example, or you happen to be hatting some mages that don't have dashes, or in offlaner, maybe like Sonya or something, right? Someone without a dash. Then you can also go move speed. Certain heroes, particularly those without good mobility, benefit greatly from the move speed as well. And the move speed can be used pretty well defensively, whereas the slow is more of an offensive talent. The move speed can actually save heroes that are dying, right? This is actually faster than mount speed. Mount speed is 30%. This talent gives them 40%. So hatting someone and clicking E with adrenaline boost can potentially do a lot as well. So both very good talents for hat build. You can decide for yourself what looks better in the game based on what I just said. And also, at level 20, we have Hive Mind. Now, Hive Mind is very, very powerful. It lets you hat two targets instead of one, and usually during team fights, it'll just be a hat on a second hero that's close to the hero you're hatting. So two heroes being hatted is very, very strong because I believe the second hat also receives talents. You'll notice the way this is worded is the second hat only does half the damage and shielding. But that's not that big of a deal. But because when you go hat build, right, the second hat receives all of the talents that you've talented into, so it's extremely synergistic. So the second guy is also gonna have this movement speed slow or movement speed boost, depending on what you win at 16. The second guy will also be healing for a lot for their hat, not to mention all of these other talents. So that is your traditional hat build. I will say there is a tech you can do at level 20 where if you're playing, with an Illidan, he's diving in, but he's just dying even though you're hatting him. There's a tech you can do where you can go Evolutionary Link. This is a very powerful single target protection spell because they get a 35% shield of, equivalent of 35% of their max health every 5 seconds. And that can go on for up to 20 seconds, which is, actually is 30 seconds once you take this upgrade. So that is an absurd amount of shielding. So if there's just like one guy, but you feel like that guy is dying even with your hat, and you just feel like he just needs as much protection as possible, this is an okay tech at level 20 for hat build as well. All right, so that is the TLDR for the most popular Abathur build. Now I am going to
Choose a
go on
talent.
to the second build. This build is not as popular, but you can still play it. So this is kind of the Mine Hat hybrid build. And what you're gonna
Choose
do
a
for this one
talent.
is you're actually gonna take Mine
Choose
Talents
a
for all of the
talent.
first three. Whatever
Talent.
alt you want, most of the time Ultimate
That
Evo,
seems
like I said
generous.
before. And then you're actually just going to go for the Hat
Choose a
Talents,
talent.
same as normal, right? Whichever one you want at 16, like I said before. Let's go this one this
Choose a
time.
talent.
And same thing at 20. So this is kind of a hybrid where the first three talents are going to be different. They're all going to be mind talents. Now, a lot of people think mind build is weak. I personally don't think so. I think mind build is stronger when the enemy team has like weaker healing. So if they have like solo heal Uther or maybe like Monk with seven-sided, these healers that cannot output tons of healing, this mind damage can actually be really valuable, right? This is almost doubling the damage of the mines for the level 1 talent. Not to mention the minus armor is helpful in general. Get a bunch of extra mines for the level 4. And the movement slow speed. I'm sure everyone has experienced being hit by a slow mine. It is absolutely annoying. Um, so for this build, you're gonna be focusing more on map control, right? So this brings me to how do you use mines on Abathur anyways, right? There's a lot of ways to use mines on Abathur. Now the most common one that most people know is you just put them in a bush, right? They give vision, and if someone steps on them, you can kill them. There's also the cheesy mine trap where you put a bunch of mines next to each other and you kind of keep doing this over and over. You can get maybe 10 to 15 mines in one spot, and if they happen to go into that spot, squishy targets such as maybe Vala or Falstad, the ranged assassins or the squishier healers can just get one shot by the mine. However, there's a lot more ways to use Mind Build. So another way you can use Mind Build is kind of use them as wards. And I always recommend people do this whenever you can. You can keep track of the enemy camps, right? The Mind gives vision, not much, but enough to see the full camp, and like this, just with 3 mines placed like this on Cursed Hollow, you will have full information of exactly when your opponents are doing mercenary camps, right? And this can help you plan your own mercenary camps better, or it can even help you perhaps invade their camp. If you see them starting this one at the same time, you know they're spread thin, maybe you can go invade, right? If you see them starting boss, that is a huge information boost. You can then go contest it. How many times have people, just let a sneak boss through and that's changed the outcome of the game? So, keeping vision like this is actually very, very important. Additionally, it is very good to be putting mines at choke points, all right? So both in bushes, but also in choke points, because choke points are where heroes are most likely to pass through. So the places that I like putting mines the most are positions such as these, right? So this is my optimal layout in terms of how I like to make mines, because not only do you get vision of bushes, not only do you get vision of the choke points, which heroes have to pass, so you have a ton of extra information. It also, if you're going mind build, demounts them, right? So you can imagine a hero rotating from top to bottom. This is gonna add like 10 seconds or more to their rotation potentially, right? Yeah, assuming it's not a global, someone mounts up here, they want to rotate for this bottom tribute, but they're top, right? Well, they're gonna hit this mine or this mine most likely, right? It's gonna demount them. They're gonna have to walk a little bit, try to mount up again, get demounted again, right? They're gonna keep walking and they might hit this one or this one. It's gonna demount them again. So you can see you can demount someone like 2 or 3 times, and then they're slowed after that, and they have to remount. So a huge part of mind build can be just be these vision and stalling effects, right? Making sure someone gets to the team fight like 10 seconds later, and they're getting to the team fight injured because they're taking damage from all these mines, that can actually be a very big deal. Not to mention you have information of where they are the whole time. So mine build, another
Must not
okay build.
delay.
You definitely want to be more strategic if you're playing this build though, right? Whereas full hat build just kind of is a support build for your carry, whoever you're mainly hatting. Mine build, much more strategic. You have to think a lot more about what to do with the vision information, where to place your mines to actually make an impact on the game, and so on and so forth. Now we are gonna go on to the next build, which is
Choose a talent.
probably one of the least played builds, although it is still viable. I would say overall this build is probably the weakest just because they don't do so well against heroes. Any hero with wave
Talent.
clear can
Ah, I
pretty much
choose generous.
absolutely destroy
Choose
these
a
things.
talent. Talent.
And once again, with
Ah,
this build,
that
the
seems
level 10,
generous.
you're gonna want Ultimate Evolution most of the time, but I'm gonna pick Monstrosity this time because, like I said, it is an option occasionally. If you find it working in your games, you can take it occasionally,
Choose a
even though it is a
talent.
little bit weaker. Alright,
Choose
so
a
this
talent.
last build is Locust build. Now, with Locust build, basically your locusts do a lot of damage to buildings and they do a lot of damage to buildings. That's about it. the ranged locust, it really doesn't fare well against heroes. You can see this is actually a projectile attack, just like the siege giants, which means you can actually dodge this attack. So a hero that's like moving will actually not even take damage from the locusts. Just like they don't take damage from siege giants while they're moving. So very weak against heroes, right? It's decent to push minions, but the thing is, it has to be left alone to push minion waves successfully. These locusts are very weak, even with the upgraded health. They really don't have a lot of health. They can be wave cleared very easily. Any mage, any offlaner that has good wave clear will deal with the locust and the minion wave at the same time. They'll just AoE it down, right? So really, the best part about Locust build is when they are leaving you alone. That's when you can do the most good. So you want to be where their heroes are not. So let's say there's a fight around the bottom objective right here, right? So most of the time you want to be opposite of the objective, which is where all the heroes are. So if I know the objective is bottom, people are going to fight over this. I'm going to want to be positioning myself and my Locust on the top side, right? So because I know most likely there's not going to be anyone here. They're all going to be here. So this is the way you generally want to play Locust build to maximize the value of the Locust. Um, and of course, you can do this even pretty early on in the game, combined with what I said earlier, even if you're not level 20 right here. Say you're only level 5, right? You only have your passive locust from your body. Well, if the tribute is bottom, you can combine the information of the tribute location with the information from your mines. So this is something I will do very commonly, right? I'll do something like this, where I'll be in this bush or this bush, and then I'll just have my mines be a scout, right? So I, even if I don't see all 5 bottom here at this fort, I'm still gonna be positioning my body offensively. So one, I can catch soak, but two, the locusts spawn and further up so they can get more value, more push time, right? And I'll just try to keep myself safe using these mines as wards, right? If anyone tries to come this way to gank me, most likely these mines will see them coming. Um, so as long as you have a good map awareness and you can look pretty closely at the map, you could do stuff like that as well. And finally, there is kind of a cheesy way to utilize this strategy, as many of you that watch my videos are surely aware. You can actually backdoor with this with this locust build rather. And the way you do that usually is you put a mine or a couple into their base. You try to find locations where the fort and the or the keep and the tower does not hit you, and then you just dig over there, and then you can spawn locusts, and the locusts will target the keep. Now, a couple tips when you're trying to backdoor here. The keep will target other stuff, right? So if you have additional mines, um, you can actually use them as kind of like cannon fodder. Every mine spawn here is one keep shot that will be tanked. Once this keep changes aggro, and it chooses a new target, it'll start hitting the mines, which are the closest ones to it first. So this way you can keep your locusts alive for a little bit longer,
Keep eliminated.
as you can see there. And recently we've been experimenting a lot with this build, and there's like a couple more tech tricks that you can do as well. Let me go to bottom keep now. So, of course, hatting the locust and shooting the keep will do a little bit more damage to the keep, as you saw me doing a second ago. The mule also can also soak like quite a few shots from the keep. So if you have that, you don't need to use it for anything else. That's always good. But also, you can do this. If you do have monstrosity, you can go ahead and just, right before the targeted locust is about to die, spawn the monstrosity, and this is gonna take the keep a lot of extra shots before it dies. So here you can see I actually spawned my locust a little too close to the tower, so they ended up targeting the tower first. You want to be, yeah, you wanna be closer to here. You want to make sure the locusts are gonna be prioritizing the keep before anything else if you're gonna do this strategy. And usually when you do this strategy, you just kind of
Keep
burrow
destroyed.
in, spawn all your locusts, and then you leave, right? So usually the strategy is something like this. You burrow in, get to a position that can target keeps and buildings, spawn all your locusts, drop all your stuff, and then you immediately recall. So most of the time, if they're not expecting this, they won't even be able to kill you. And then once you're safely back in base, you can do all this other stuff, such as adding the locusts. Alright, so those are the three builds. I tried to go pretty quick here because there's a lot to cover. We are covering three different builds. So I'm sure there's like some other stuff you might be wondering, some other techs or talents I might have not fully explained. So if you have any of that, you can comment below this video and I'll be responding to the comments below this video. So the idea is that between the video and the comments, we will have covered everything about the hero, and this will just be a one-stop shop where you can just check in and get everything you need to know about that hero. Alright, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.